Your sun is going to give you a very big focus on this energy of Ceres. So that's a very important asteroid for you. We can get into that later. And so it's very interesting to have these three exactly conjunct each other. It's going to give a very nurturing person, but not someone to be walked all over because of Lilith here. And then you have it pretty close to Mercury, not conjunct, within 7 degrees it is, but at 21, it's going to give you a big focus on communication, of course, especially because that's close to Lilith as well, and Ceres. So you can definitely dip into either of these energies or both in combination to your sun. So that Mercury is in Pluto too, which has to do with transformation, rebirth, taboo topics, power struggles. And because it is opposite your ascendant in Virgo, that can give you a little bit of difficulty communicating in relationships, in terms of your ascendant having to do with how you come off to others. A lot of people associate it to the mask we wear, but I like to think of it more as how we exude ourselves, either naturally or intentionally. I think goes into both of those, and it's at a critical degree, so that's very interesting here. So it's just going to give you a little bit of challenge in that, but it's a challenge that ultimately will be good for you to overcome, especially because it's in conjunct to Chiron. In conjunct to me reflect internal crisis. So that is definitely something that's going to be a focus of a challenge for you, is communication with others, especially the people you're closest with. And the Chiron is in Leo here, in whole signs in the 12th house, and Placidus, it's in your 11th house. It has to do with expression. 12th house has to do with the hidden, the subconscious. So you definitely feel some struggles when it comes to communication with others in terms of how you express yourself, especially because it's in the decan of Jupiter, which has to do with expansion. So if you can heal this Chiron wound of expression with others in your subconscious, especially because it's also pretty close to the moon here, which has to do with your internal feelings and subconscious as well, some karmic things. I think you must have karmic ties with expression in your subconscious, could relate from past lives, of course this life as well, especially in Leo and expansion. So it would be very beneficial when we can work through these issues right here. And in the 11th house has to do with friends, groups, society as a whole, and that's Placidus for you, so that's more of your psyche, your psychological makeup. So it could also relate to groups and friendships and society as a whole, that you feel stifled with your expression with others, which makes a lot of sense with Ceres being conjunct your sun, having to do with nurturing. You could feel that because of your very nurturing nature. And then also with Lilith here, the dark feminine, Lilith can be hard for others to kind of deal with, especially if they're not used to that energy. So it could stem from that. Doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong, especially because too, the sun, Lilith, and Ceres are internal crisis with Jupiter, which is in your 2nd house and whole sign, which has to do with your belongings, security, self-confidence, like money, possessions that you have. And that's in Uranus, which is innovation. And so, that could also go into how you see yourself, and an opportunity for expansion here. It's in retrograde, so again, that could have to do with karmic issues relating to here, which makes sense because Jupiter, it's in the decan of Jupiter. And we'll go into degrees later, but they're definitely significant. So I'm definitely looking at these two internal crisis lines that connect to your Mercury and the Sun, Lilith, Ceres. And then, so definitely opportunities for expansion. This Jupiter is also in your first house in Placidus, which has to do with your sense of self, your identity, how you present yourself to the world. It's the house of self. And so that's stifling, showing your Lilith, showing your Sun, your identity, and your nurturing nature feels a bit like an internal crisis to you because of these karmic issues, issues with security and wealth, and also just expression in yourself. So definitely things that we can work through.